Muskegon Channel. It's Andy O'Reilly, and today I am down at the Loutit District Library, and next to me here is Laura Grimshaw. Now, you might not know the name Laura Grimshaw, but if you look at the art that's around us, you're going to know who her husband was. It was Gary Grimshaw of Detroit, and all of this artwork was his. He was, well, I'll let you tell the story. He got his start in the rock and roll world doing poster art for some of the biggest bands in Detroit and some of the music scene in Detroit. Welcome and thank you. Give me the history lesson on Gary Grimshaw.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. And thank you for being interested in the history, because I feel that Gary really was an important artist, not just for Detroit and the Grandy Ballroom, which is what you're referring to, but also for the entire nation. They talk about the top 5 poster artists, all of which are located in California, and one of which is from Michigan and from Detroit, Stanley Mouse, is Stanley Miller, known as Mouse. But in the Midwest, it was Michigan. It was Gary Grimshaw. He was the original. He brought in a lot of people after he paved the way. He was not an exclusive artist, and many people did Grandy Ballroom posters. But Gary started them, and it started his career doing the posters. And
this was a time when communications were not what they were today. I mean, to get the word out that somebody like the MC5 was playing, or some other big act, Hendrix or something like that, this is how they communicated. This is how they said, these are who's coming, get here.
Well, what they did was they took the idea at the Grandy in particular. They took the idea from San Francisco.
Sure.
And in San Francisco, they took the idea from the boxing style posters that you might see Elvis Presley or R&B act, Sam Cooke, someone like that. There was one particular company that did those, what are called boxing style posters, which also were boxing matches. Hatch Print is the name of that company. They're very famous. So they took that boxing style poster and they made the first, what they call the seed, and that is the first psychedelic poster ever. And that was done collectively and done in several versions. And from there, they started advertising the Avalon and the Fillmore, and in particular in San Francisco, they had buses there everywhere. Everyone took the bus.
Sure.
So behind the driver, there was a big space, and that's where Gary saw his first poster ever. He had been released from the Navy. He stuck around the Bay Area for a while and saw these posters. He went to a Mothers of Invention, Frank Zappa show. He saw the Velvet Underground. He saw early Grateful Dead, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And was influenced by the art, but not because he knew he was going to do it. That's the interesting part.
Right.
Because I'll talk tomorrow about how he happened to become doing the art himself. But at any rate, he did end up doing many of the whole first part of the catalog of the Grandy Ballroom is all Gary Grimshaw. And then he started trading off, and then at times he moved to the Bay Area, and another time he moved to Boston. And I'm actually looking for a person who would be a Gary Grimshaw expert.
Sure.
Because having been married to him for 25 years, we didn't sit around talking about
who does?
his timeline, and,
right.
You know, when did you do this and when did you do that? So although I have a lot of the facts, they're all in a jumble,
Sure.
and a true archivist would be able to take his history, his art, and truly put it on a timeline like you see really true artists have. And Gary definitely is a very true, original, and important artist.
He got political in his career too.
Yes, he did get political, and that started, he got the germ of that when he got out of the Navy as well. He attended the second ever Berkeley Peace March.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're married 25 years. How would he feel about today's political situation, do you think?
How would he feel?
Yeah.
About it?
Yeah. Just the overall climate that we have in our country today.
I would think that he probably would not be surprised by it, but that he would probably have the kind of a, in his later years especially, he developed sort of a Buddhist style attitude about things.
Pretty Peaceful.
And so it's acceptance and looking for the best in whatever is presented to you.
Sure.
And so personally, I see the best about all of the upheaval that's happening now is that it is telling people what they don't want.
Right.
One way or the other.
Right.
And so people are becoming really clear about what they want.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So your exhibit, I mean, you're just still in Detroit. You're still here in Michigan. Your exhibit comes over here till the end of November. What are people going to see when they come in to see this artwork? What do they expect?
Well, we're going to have a couple of vitrines that are filled with personal items and books that Gary has been featured in.
Okay.
And he's been featured in many books and studied at universities, at art schools, and a lot of that. On the panels are going to be more esoteric works, and that is because I partnered up with Richie Woolfield from Lo and Behold Records, and we have created the Gary Grimshaw Memorial Series. And whereas Gary started going into reproducing his art as on a computer, you have to actually restore the art first.
Sure.
It doesn't really do very well to just scan something and put it out there. It looks like an old piece of paper.
Sure.
And it's not. Hello.
Oh, hello.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Live at the library.
Live
Anything
at the
can happen.
Anyway, cool.
The art drew him.
That's what happens.
Hey, I'm an old Stooges MC5 guy.
There you go. So there you go.
I'm liking the
Perfect.
posters.
As you were saying.
Yeah, that's right. So in 1992, approximately after Gary had started to embrace computers, what he did was he started restoring, which would mean that he would blow up on his screen as big as a pixel would be as big as a baseball, and then he would smooth it out and correct all the lines.
Sure.
And that's how you restore electronically. So he started doing that with all his. He started with his most famous stuff. And also, he loved chronological. He was a very chronological kind of person.
Was he?
He was very organized. He would have been a great librarian. He would have been a great accountant in his life. He was meticulous in everything he did.
Sure.
And you can tell with how his lettering got better and better and better. He's known for his lettering. And if we have a moment, we can talk about that. So at any rate, he started restoring his posters, and he went for the popular stuff, and this is how we would do art shows. And I will have some of those things for sale tomorrow night. But with Richie, we're doing the esoteric things. For instance, this piece here was not ever a poster until we made it into one. That was from the Warren Forest Sun newspaper.
Okay.
It was an ad.
Right.
That's all it was. This one here was also an ad only. It was never made into a poster until Richie Woolfield restored it.
Okay.
These are esoteric things that aren't included. They are Grandy items, but they're not included in they're not Grandy posters that hung for the show at the Grandy.
Sure.
They were the ads. This one, interestingly, was the first one that we did. And when we had our opening, Lenny Sinclair came to our opening and she said, and we suspected this, but we didn't know. She said, "Did you know that that was a photograph of Gary that he drew from a picture that I took?"
How about that?
And she showed me the picture.
Right.
And that picture is the picture on the poster for this show.
How about that?
Which is what Gary took as a drawing.
Perfect.
And so as you see also for the poster for this show, is that Richie took a combination of this poster and that poster and made it a new thing to talk about our talk tomorrow.
Very cool.
October 16th.
The talk gets underway at what time?
At 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, you're going to take a little break.
Yeah.
And then after, so 7 o'clock, you're going to talk about what?
We're going to do a slideshow. I'm
Okay.
going to talk about a little bit about Lincoln Park and Gary's Navy years and in the early part of doing the Grandy stuff. I'm going to show the early Grandy. I'm going to show his book.
Okay.
We won't hardly get into it. We won't have time. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll tour the panels, and we'll talk about each piece of art. And hopefully Richie will make it for the talk tomorrow.
Very cool.
From Detroit.
Very cool.
And he will be talking with me. And I'm not for sure that's going to happen, so it's not on the official program.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
But let's all hope that Richie can make it as well. Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking a few minutes. I know we've kind of got some time to get this thing out and up and everything quick, and I even helped unload the car when you got here today because we wanted to show all this stuff off. It's just amazing.
I appreciate that.
Any final thoughts you want to leave?
Well, I did want to say also that besides doing the Grandy stuff, Gary was a community artist. And for instance, he also had his own agency with Lenny Sinclair for a while. And he did a lot of mainstream commercial art as well.
Sure.
Like, for instance, well, I wouldn't call it mainstream. It was, at the time, it was underground.
Sure.
But this one is for WABX, and then this here is for the WRIF. And so Gary was well known, and he did work for everyone.
Really cool stuff.
He did really cool work.
Come down and see it tomorrow at the Loutit District Library in Grand Haven. You are an absolute charm. I thank you so much for taking a few minutes. Anytime you're back in town, feel free to give us a holler. We'll be happy to talk about your work.
Okay.
Loutit District Library, Tuesday night. Make sure you're down here and you heard about it on the Muskegon Channel.